Okay, good evening, everyone. I will call this public hearing to order. The subject is ordinance 554. If any member of the public has a comment on that ordinance, you're welcome to go to the podium, sign in. We do ask that you speak into the mic. Ms. Cantulo, has that mic been turned on or do we need to check? We should need to turn on. Those who want to speak, then go ahead and check. While Mr. Stack is signing in, this ordinance is regarding the senior citizens real property tax exemption.
Can you hear me? Is this on?
Yeah, if you prefer, you can take it out of the holder because it works better if it's perfect,
Very good,
like an ice cream
yeah,
cone.
Madonna or something. Anyway, my name is Richard Statt. I am not a property owner in the city of Newcastle. I am not a voter in the city of Newcastle. I represent a company that is a tenant in the city of Newcastle, so we are a taxpayer. I happen to become aware of the proposed ordinance, and my comment is just for me alone, my personal opinion. I don't represent anyone other than myself, my landlord, no one else. I think that the city should be as generous as possible in issuing credits for seniors or disabled people for the city tax code. And my own thought would be, it would be great if you could adopt criteria similar to Newcastle counties. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to be clear, we already have the exemption. The purpose of this ordinance is simply to raise the income level that qualifies people for the exemption.
Correct, but the exemption itself in the draft of the ordinance that I saw remains at the low price and does not, or low number, 32,000 or 30,000, and should be increased as the county has increased theirs to 173,000 to take into account the reassessment.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And the income limits at the county are more lenient and generous than what is currently proposed in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and I forgot to say at the beginning that people making comments have 3 minutes. So this starting the timer now.
Bill Gross, 1301 13th Street. I want to mirror Richard's comments that add that I've spoken to at least 25 people who were not even aware of such an ordinance coming up. And as Ms. Souter had said, this is something that's been in force. So once again, I'll suggest that we get the reverse tab set up on the city site so that people can opt in to get notifications of adjustments or some of interest and will benefit the residents of the city of Newcastle. So I would ask that the city council focus on that as the students or whoever is working on getting our city's website up and going, because it'll make a difference. It'll make a huge difference because a lot of people don't know how to navigate the site, don't know how to navigate the internet. So if they opt in to have specific information sent from the city, it's a no-brainer. Open it. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, well, someone else may come in who has a comment, or someone who's here now may think of something. We have until 7, so.
That anything was being changed until I saw it in the Gazette. That's how I knew, and I told a couple of friends that I knew to be here tonight. What exactly is, I don't understand exactly what you're doing. Hope I'm not under the assumption that you're trying to take that away from us, or are you just trying to increase the amount to make it more eligible for other people?
The second,
Okay,
we're increasing the income limits that would qualify people for this exemption.
okay, because that wasn't, it was just saying that you were doing something, but we didn't know what.
Right,
And everybody that, right now is on this, is fighting to keep alive in the situation today. And if it's gonna, we wanted to make sure that you weren't gonna take it away from us, because that's the one advantage that we have.
no, we are not even considering that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henrich.
Roll that down so we can see the.
Yeah.
But not the ordinance change, but. Right, well, yes. But maybe, but also ordinance change.
Can you please sit down?
Yeah, but that's kind of.
My name's Tom Whitehead, 131 Second Street, Newcastle. I'm 100% for what you're doing, are continuing to do it. But I would like to say, I do agree 100% with Phil Gross that so many people do not even know this exists. In other words, it'd be really nice to know. I mean, I know there's several people on Second Street that are probably not signed up for it. They don't know anything about it, should be advertised. I would think you'd want to hold up until you do have the advertisement. And also, I recall when I signed up, it was a long time ago, that the form was simple to fill out. And I think a lot of people were worried about the form and this and that should also be included. So, thanks again.
All right, thank you. We do advertise it. It was in the town crier, the statement that comes with the utility bill. It was in the weekly, I believe.
Yeah, everyone doesn't read the local newspaper.
Oh, I understand. That's why we send it out with a utility bill, because nearly everyone gets a
Okay.
utility bill.
Okay, maybe just a form with it, the form you fill out also.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. I don't,
Thank you. We received that, and I think we're always looking forward into ways in which we can better communicate. Council President, it's also referenced in the town calendar as well.
right.
It goes up over.
Okay, thank you.
Why have any left?
But normally people just get one, but I don't know, since no one else is. Yeah, it would set a precedent, so sorry. There will be public comments in the regular meeting later too.
I got my ditching out mine.
Why should I wear a fight?
Good job. I'll issue a last call for comments at the public hearing regarding ordinance 554. And if there are none, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a? Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is adjourned, and we will now begin the regular public meeting, regular council meeting, monthly meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zabaka. Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, City Solicitor Max Walton, and City Building Official Jeff Bergstrom.
Thank you. All right, we have several sets of minutes because we've had lots of meetings in the last month. We'll take them one at a time. The special meeting, budget meeting of Wednesday, the 10th of April. Are there any comments or corrections to that? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. The next is the special meeting of Wednesday, April 29th. Are there any comments or corrections to those minutes? And again, is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 29th? A second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Oh, great. Minutes of May 7th. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? A motion to approve? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing of Tuesday, May 13th. Are there any additions or corrections?
This is right.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve these minutes? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, the minutes are approved as submitted. The minutes of the regular meeting of Tuesday, May 13th. Are there any additions or corrections?
I do, have a comment on page 5 of those minutes under middle of the page, under Councilperson Zabaka's updates, where it says Encore update. I think it's just a typo saying, reported an Encore raise just over 1 million of 2 million needed, but it should be reading 1.2 million needed.
Thank you. Any other additions or corrections to those minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of the regular meeting of May 13th are approved as submitted with the correction, as corrected, excuse me. And the next one is the meeting of Thursday, May 15th. Are there any additions or corrections? In that case, is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted? A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are approved. I think this is the final. There's one more, yes, the final set is from the meeting of Wednesday, May 28th. I have one correction. I was present, but I was not physically present. I was virtually present online. So I think it should indicate that. Are there any other additions or corrections?
The little one on page 6, fourth paragraph.
that ends with in the House, basically, talking about two bills passed committee and are currently in the House and Senate. One is in the House, one's in the Senate. So just add and Senate.
Thank you. Any other additions or corrections to those minutes? All right, then is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 28th as corrected? Second, all in favor? Thank you. The minutes are approved. The next item is the treasurer's report, Mr. Worcester.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, I have my microphone. We're now, for this report, at the end of May 31st, which is 11 months into the year. And that's, I think it's like 92% of the year's over. So what's very healthy in this report is the cash in accounts that we have at May 31st. We have a total of $11,461,051 change in accounts, and those accounts are, we have $2,897,000 in restricted funds and $5,554,000 in unrestricted funds. And I'm sorry, $8,554,000. What's healthy about the business or this operation is that we have a nice reserve going into the new year, and we're going to need that reserve. Not in total, but it gives us some help if we run into problems of one sort or another. This current year that we're in now, just finishing with 92% of the year, our budget called for $7,027,000 of income, and we've taken in $5,636,000. So there's $1.3 million that has not come in, and I don't expect it to come in because it was primarily reserves that we placed in the income side if we needed it, and we still may need some. So financially, we're very healthy this current year. For the expense side, the expenses run pretty evenly through the year. And through the end of May, we've paid out $5,819,767, which is about 82% of our budget. And the budget, the $7,027,000. So I would say we've wrapped up this year very healthy. That doesn't say that we don't have a need for increases because our expenses are going to increase the coming year. And all of that's being discussed in the budgeting. So with that said, I will say that's my final report. If anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know.
Any questions from council for Mr. Wissman? All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And staff reports, Ms. Tantilla?
Thank you. So we worked for the Delaware River Trail Study, continued with JMT, our planners for that project. We're hoping to do that over the summer and then have a recommendation. Also, as mentioned at the last meeting, I did apply for a pre-application for the ORPT grant to continue that study and hopefully plan for a continuation of the project. Regarding the Delaware Street Railroad crossing improvements, they're working to complete the railroad arm improvements hopefully this summer. And they will continue to work with Norfolk Southern to finalize the plans for the rest of the project and complete that next year. We are working with WMAPCO to plan a walkability study. We're actually planning 2 walkability studies, the first one being at the end of July and the other one being in the fall. We will post the event details on our website at the city, so that residents are welcome to join us and participate in that study. The citywide paving contract and the side pullout contracts are underway. We have completed various roads so far, and additional work will continue at the end of June. And we've also begun the sidewalks, and that work is continuing. They were working today, and will continue throughout the week and throughout the rest of the summer.
Can you tell me what streets sidewalk is being prepared, is that Fourth?
Yeah, so Fourth, the completed streets so far, were Fifth and Williams and Fourth and Williams, along with Fifth and Harmony. And they're continuing work on Harmony and Second and Harmony and Muddick, for this week. And then there are other, areas that will continue throughout the summer. I can have those updates at the next meeting, so. The 3 student groups that we were working with in the spring have all wrapped up their projects, and we have just started working with our intern this week, who is working on various projects for us that are pressing. We also have the graduate PhD student who will work on the infrastructure financing project with us throughout the summer. We're excited for that work to begin. It'll start this week with kind of a pre-meeting, and then we'll go into full swing beginning July 1. The budget remains underway. As everyone knows, we have upcoming budget meetings tomorrow night, next week, June 18th, the following week on the 26th, and possibly we may have additional meetings on the 25th and the 30th. Please continue to check the website for updates on that. Separation Day was this past weekend. It was a lovely day. Thank you to all who participated and to all who helped make the event safe. We are excited to begin planning already for next year to celebrate America 250. Just a reminder for all that street sweeping continues as we go into the summer. The street sweeping schedule has been posted, shared, it's in the crier, sent to everyone, so everyone should be aware of that. If there are people who don't move their vehicles and they're in the way of the street sweeper, they will have to be ticketed, as has been advised for the past year. Councilman Zelt and I will continue to work on the dog park and evaluating for the fence. The charter changes will be on to be added to the agendas for the House and the Senate. And that is it on my report. Oh, and I'm sorry, one other thing, Councilman Day asked about the boat ramp south of Dobbinsville. I should have an update at the next meeting.
I think it's the fishing pier, right?
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Chief McCabe is not able to be with us tonight. Mr. Bergstrom, did you have anything for us?
Nothing at this time in the report.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, then the next item is communications from the council, and we'll start with Mr. Mataway.
Thank you, Council President. Nice to have you back in town. Ms. Campbell, I did have one question for you. If you could check on the status of the trailhead project.
Yes.
With the county, on someone.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Just have a. Sorry about that. We have a couple community highlights that I would just like to lift up. May the 24th, I had the pleasure of attending Shove Off Day with our friends in sister city of Delaware City to kick off Juneteenth events. I would like to acknowledge friend and colleague, Mr. Dave Turley, City Council person from Delaware City, is with us today. Some of those events celebrating Juneteenth will continue next week on Tuesday the 17th and on Thursday, June 19th. Thank you for your time and consideration in that regard. This past Sunday, I had a joy divine of standing with St. Peter's and our neighbors during a benediction in the 101st St. Anthony's Day procession. I felt really great to be a part of such a great, rich tradition as we walked the community and honored ancestors. This coming Saturday, June 14th, the Lodger on the Loose will occur at Battery Park. It's a partnership with the library and community collaboration and friends. Healthy snacks, youth clothes. They'll have story time, outdoor games, Narcan training, etc., all free. from 10 to 1 p.m. The library in June and August are continuing with their Vision to Learn program, where young people can get free eye examinations and free glasses. The June dates are all filled up, but August, there is some availability. If you know any young person, you can register by calling the library at 302-328-1995. And the final public service announcement I want to make, and that's in regards to our beloved seniors. So at the end of this month, there's a senior school property tax credit relief that any senior can get. You just have to be 65 years and older, and it will be $500. This announcement has been put in the crier. It has been put on the city website. I have some copies here with me if you would like to take some, and I gave some to some of the seniors who were with us during the 6:30 session. Thank you, Council President.
All right, and that's the county's tax, right?
That is not it's school tax.
The school tax.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that deadline is June 30th.
Mr. Zabaka?
Good evening, everybody. I first wanted to say, thank you to all volunteers and community organizations, and all the neighbors and visitors who came to Newcastle this past weekend for Celebration Day. We lucked out with the weather, in a sense that, we got the rain when we weren't out, but, we got nice weather when it mattered, so that was great. I wanted to say thank you to the library. I'm constantly reminded, we have a little one who goes to the library twice a week for story time, and it's such a great thing to see pictures from our nanny sending us. We're so grateful for this program that they have there, so I just wanted to share that. I invite all of you who have grandkids or kids to send them on Tuesdays and Fridays to their story time. There are people from all over the state that come to attend, and Fridays they do it now outside. I wanted to wish everybody Father's Day who celebrates. I hope you guys have a nice relaxing weekend. Watch some games maybe, or do whatever it is that you prefer to do on a Father's Day. There's a fun fact there that Father's Day is the 17th on the list of all the important holidays. It's just a joke I'm making here, sorry. I do want to encourage everybody to come to our budget meetings starting tomorrow. We have several, as City Administrator mentioned, scheduled for the upcoming month. We don't know how many we're going to need, but I do encourage you all to come and provide feedback on suggestions on whatever it is that you may see as concerning, or ideas that could help the city move forward on some of these things. I wanted to join the celebrations of Juneteenth, and thank you, Councilperson Zell, for adding that as a holiday on our city's calendar. Because we are meeting in July later, I wanted to wish you 4th of July. I hope you guys have a great weekend and safe. I know the fire and police are going to be busy, but hopefully they get to relax as well themselves. With that, I do want to mention that I'm not going to be here next month. Maybe join virtually. I'm not sure, because we go typically during July for a little retreat with a family to the beach. So I don't think I'm going to make a trip here, but may join virtually. And wanted to wish everybody Eid Mubarak this past Saturday, Friday, Sunday, who celebrates. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zell.
So I hope everyone knows June is Pride Month for the LGBTA community. June 1st, we had our Pride Market. It was an amazing event. Lots of people came out. Thank you, if I can get his name right, Jalissa Kawabo Alaya. She was amazing in setting this event up. And again, we have another one on November 1st. A Day in Old Newcastle is May 17th. Judy Baldini's in the audience. Thank you. And Cindy Snyder for putting on the event. It was great. The weather held out and it was wonderful. Not sure if everyone knows, I am taking on as the chair for A Day in Old Newcastle. If you have any questions or want to get involved, please let me know. Code Red. I know we talked, I think, last month about getting the street cleaning posted on Sunday beforehand for the code red. Is that possible?
Sure.
That would be great. Second situation with the street cleaning. Is there some way that we can post when it's done so people can put their cars back?
And we give a window of time because, things happen, traffic jams, whatever,
Understood, but if they maybe let you know and maybe we can post something on the Facebook page or someplace, we can let people know that they can go back. If I see it, I know I can go back, but not everyone sees it.
right. Yeah, we can certainly look into that, but I just don't wanna make a promise. Because, yeah, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't, give that window, so that you have to go back, but then they go back on the street. So I just don't, here's that right now, but let's see, make that happen.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, and Mr. Day?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things I wanted to thank, all the volunteers, the city administrator and event allies. I thought Separation Day went great. The Friday night event seemed to be well attended. All the activities seemed to go well. I appreciate Goodwill Fire Company, supporting the event Friday night. And overall, I thought it was a positive event for the city, even with the rain being a little iffy there. I continue to work with the Pool Hill Boatyard members to try to get that issue resolved. And just as a reminder, the concerts in the park actually start next week on Wednesday at 6:30.
Thank you. And I have just a couple things, as others have said, our 100th day of Newcastle's in the books, thanks to the hard work of many people, especially co-chairs Cindy Snyder, Judy Baldini, Kim Berg-Miller, and Antoinette Macari Klingsberg. I'm thankful that new people, Mr. Zell, have stepped up so that we can ensure that this tradition will continue. I was sorry to miss Separation Day. As someone commented, I was traveling. I attended a grandson's high school graduation in Phoenix and visited some other family members on the West Coast, and then traveled to the Pacific Northwest where I had never been. So it was great. But I do hear that Separation Day was a great success, thanks to the work of many volunteers. And I'm looking forward to a tremendous celebration of the 250th anniversary next year. And finally, as also others have said, we continue to work on the budget for the coming fiscal year, which begins July 1. We have had several meetings and more to come. The next one's tomorrow night at 6:30 in the community room at the police station. So I urge anyone who's interested to come. We want to hear from people about it. Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Thank you. The mayor coming after city council, I just have to strike a lot of things off my list. They've already mentioned a day on Newcastle, and they mentioned that Separation Day, both Friday and Saturday nights, which was pretty good. And the concert's starting next week, so we won't belabor those points. I'll just remind you all of the farmers market that takes place on Saturday on the green. That is going on as well. For those of you who may be interested in past budget meetings, they are available on the city website. So you can go in and click on the link to watch them. All right, so you can catch up as you would have it. I do have a proclamation for someone who doesn't appear to be here. Just in case, I don't know. Gary Holmes, are you here? I don't think so. No. Gary, you're missing your moment in the sun. So this is a proclamation to recognize Gary Holmes for his long-time career and retirement from the City of Newcastle Public Works Department. Whereas Gary Holmes began working for the City of Newcastle in 2006, and whereas Gary Holmes served the City of Newcastle and its residents in the City of Newcastle Public Works Department, and whereas Gary Holmes was an integral part of the Public Works team for nearly 2 decades. working to ensure efficient services to the city and its residents. And whereas after over 19 years of serving the city of Newcastle, Gary Holmes has retired from the city. And now therefore, I, Valerie Leary, Mayor of the City of Newcastle, along with the entire City Council, express our admiration and profound gratitude for the contributions of Gary Holmes. With this proclamation, we thank Mr. Holmes for his service and dedication to the City of Newcastle and residents and wish him the best as he enjoys his retirement. Thank you. Just a quick reminder on a different point. I've been in receipt of some emails from a couple of people complaining about, or concerned about, some possible vandalism. You need to call the police. You need to call the police. Sending me an email, sending council an email, sending somebody else an email is not a police report, and our police are good. And there are Ring cameras everywhere and other cameras on homes. So the damage or whoever may have done vandalism can possibly be caught. But if you don't contact the police, it's not gonna happen that way. All right, so don't forget, contact the police, call 911. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Did Matthew?
Good evening, everyone. I apologize, we're still working through our new report management software, so I don't have a in-depth breakdown of fire incidents for the month of May. However, your EMS breakdown is still in the report. They hit the high points. We had 193 EMS incidents and 97 fire incidents for the month of May. We had 2 in-district fires, both in the city. May 9th, we responded to a fire at the Garrison, at Goodwill Industries, 400 Center Point Boulevard. And on May 24th, we responded to a fire at 800 to Garrison. Both incidents were brought under control quickly with no injuries to civilians or firefighters. We did celebrate EMS Week this past month, May 18th to 24th. And I would like to thank the community for all their support during both the Mother's Day flower sale and the Ladies Auxiliary Dine and Donate or whatever it's called at Portofino's. I don't know what the official term was. I'm taking a high one. Also, just to recap our May company meeting, we did hand out some pretty hefty hardware to some members. We recognize Bill Emery for what is now 51 years of service to the fire company, although his 50-year award finally came in 6 months later. And as well as Ray Snyder for 50 years of service. John B. Horner was recognized for 45 years of service. And Captain Scheffler, firefighter EMT Rael, and myself were recognized with a unit citation from the director of FEMA for our efforts in North Carolina this past fall. Are there any questions from council for the fire company?
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Pardon me, the next item is the second reading, discussion and possible vote on ordinance 5 times. Oh, pardon me, yes, how could I miss that, sorry. Okay, public comments. The usual thing, sign in on the sheet on the podium. Please use the microphone and speak directly into it. You can take it out of the stand if that's more comfortable for you. And you have 3 minutes. There's a timer on the counter. It will beep the end.
Did we sign in for the hearing. Do we need to sign in again?
Yes, please, because they're kept separately, because they're two separate meetings.
Good staff, not a city resident, not a city property owner. My business is a commercial tenant in the city and thus is a taxpayer. I just want to make two brief comments regarding the city council meeting items, old business. Number one, the second reading, discussion and possible vote of ordinance number 554. I made some comments on that during the hearing. I'll make one or two additional comments now. And actually starts with a question. Perhaps the council can answer later when they discuss it. Is the city of Newcastle senior property tax assessment exemption layered on top of the county's exemption, or is it in lieu of the county's exemption?
It's a separate exemption because it's a separate tax. So the county exemption applies to the county tax, the city exemption applies to the city tax.
Well, with that answer, then I repeat my prior comment that the $32,000 number should be adjusted upward due to the reassessment. My next comment is on the second old business agenda item, which is the revised resolution 2025-25A. And I am in favor of that revised resolution. The city of Newcastle is facing two congruent challenges. One is the effects of the reassessment, which have been discussed a lot throughout the county. Some of the assessments may not be accurate. And the second major issue is that the city council is trying to work out a budget that corrects some structural problems that have been present in councils in the city's revenue raising over the last 16 years. Simply has not kept up with inflation. So the council, you as council have two congruent major issues to deal with. And this proposed revised resolution may give you some flexibility to address these. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Swift, living at 16 West 4th Street, and I'd like to update everybody about the playground at the Battery Park. As of this morning, we had raised $1,015,774, and we have about $60,000 left until we get to our shovel-ready number, which is $1,075,000. Our overall budget, including all of the play equipment, the surfacing, and benches and shade, is 1.2 million. So we are looking to get to our shovel-ready number by the end of June. If anybody has not yet donated and wants to, we do have a website where that's possible. And if there are questions from City Council, by all means, let me know. We are posting almost weekly in the weekly about different things that Encore is doing to raise money and to update the design concept to make it the playground as accessible as possible.
Thank you. Okay, you have to speak into the mic, please, or no one will be able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, keep it fairly close.
I don't like it close to the mouth of everybody. I'm sorry, but that's just me. But, I'm just coming forward, just want to introduce myself, Sandra Taylor at 29 William Penn Square. I've been a resident here for 34 years. This is, I don't have any, well, right now, I don't have a lot to say. This is not a first time for me, but this is, I'm going to continue to come as often as I can. I was a part of the committee, the resilience, committee with, Alex at one point. But, I just wanted to say that, you know, for the people that won, congratulations, but the same effort that was put out to come to our area, to our residents with, the introductions of who you were, and that you wanted, you know, votes. And we've been living in a city, and I don't see a lot of things, that's being really done in my area where I live. So that's my concern, and just wanted to bring that forward. But you know, as we all say, you come out and you come to everyone's door or leave a door hanger of some sort, introducing yourselves, but never come back to revisit and say, hey, can you do anything here, or is there anything that can be done in our area? So I just want to bring that, but I'm still going to come back. I have some other things, but right now at this time, I'm not prepared to speak on it. Thank you. Okay.
My name is Rita Brown, and I live in William Penn Court also. My concern is that, for the last couple of meetings, we've been bringing up the flooding in the Buttonwood area. And I even called the administrative office, and I have not received a call back or had anybody contact me on this issue. I'd like to know, if someone can tell me, what is the procedure to have someone contact us and follow through on this so that we can get something done with this flooding? Because the flooding not only is not just about the water, it's about the mosquitoes that are also in that area with all the rain that we get. And that's my concern, and that's,
President Powder, if I may. Ms. Brown, I'm sorry that you didn't receive a call back. I'll make sure that I return your call. I don't know that I got that message, so I'm sorry about that. Regarding flooding in that area, we are investigating that. We are making sure to clean out the pipes and investigating the storm drains over there. We did clear them out 2 weeks ago again, and we're still looking into the issue. So it's not, you know, thrown to the wayside or anything. We're still investigating the issue, and I just want to make sure that you know that. Thank you.
And while I'm up here, well, even though I have this vote, is there a,
Normally you don't get a second chance. I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor. Sorry.
Want me to sign again?
Yes, please.
Tom Whitehead.
Please speak into the mic, Mr. Whitehead.
Tom Whitehead. Mine has to do with probably, let me see, 1 and 3.
Okay.
Okay, now, Alice Reel, is she also on the planning board?
No,
She's not on that now.
no, she never has been, to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, I know have you actually interviewed her? I know on these different committees, you want people with, who know the subject. Is she really familiar with, what she's doing? And I thought she was on the planning board.
No, she's not. If you're referring to the Flood Resiliency Committee, we have very few engineers or other people in town with that expertise. We tried to get people representing the parts of town that are the most subject to flooding, and she is in one of those areas, and she's done a great deal of work on that committee.
Well, I did volunteer for this position on the planning board. I didn't hear anything. I've been a licensed surveyor in Delaware since 1969. Had my own business since 75. So I think I'm fully qualified. And I've done most of my work. I've been in the field doing the work. Now, if that's what you're looking for, I volunteered, and apparently it's not. So.
Okay, I had not heard that you had volunteered, but thank you.
Yeah, well.
No, I wasn't gonna get up, but I can't sit there and I've seen it. Hi, my name's Bill Emery. I have to tag on to this gentleman right here. Sir, if you're not in the clique or if you're not in the realm of the groups here, you will never be offered a position on any of the committees, okay? As long as are you, I'm experienced, I've got education in the engineering field, construction field, topography, etc. I've offered my name numerous times for committee appointments. I've been ignored.
I know.
If you don't, like I said, if you're not in the certain cliques here, you will be ignored. That's all I got to say.
I wanted to help them several times. They don't want you. You do know.
Anyone else?
Want that. Very. Very.
Madam President.
Okay, sir, would you sign in on the sheet, please?
Madam President, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Soma Padman, maybe one of the older citizens since 1980. I am very thankful about the treasurer's report with the fact that we are not in any form of a financial bind. I think my observation is about the fact, especially on Chestnut Street and 6th Street. At the end of my talk, I want an answer as to what is being done about the flood for the last several years. The other thing is, if I drive from here to the farmer's market, there is the Traders Lane and the Churchman's Road. There is a big manhole right there. I have tried with the county. I have tried to talk to the what is called the I'm not getting the word. The people who repair any complaint from residents, and they took my name, but nothing has been done for the last 1 year. So I think also, I think maybe it belongs to the city because we are very close to that area, as well as the trustees may have to look into it. it is a dangerous thing because once you try to go over it, you're going to have an alignment problem or busted tire. So that's got to be addressed, and I want an answer from our president whether she's aware of this.
I go out there regularly. Route 273 Franklin's Road is a state highway, so the state is responsible for the maintenance of that road. Traders Lane going into the farmer's market, is that a private road? I don't know. It's the trustees. It's, okay, so that is also state road, so you should be contacting DelDOT.
Thank you, madam, but also the fact of Route 9, I was told it is a county problem. That's got to be, at least there should be a complaint from our city council and the mayor as well as the Madam President to do something about it as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Regarding Route 9, since that is already a solution in progress, when were they planning on coming out, this summer?
I don't have an official date from the state yet, but I know that this past spring, they were bidding the project and finalizing the construction.
You're talking about the raising the surface on Route 9 south of Newcastle. I don't know if that's what Dr. Pavling was referring to. Yeah, but you also mentioned Route 9.
Yeah.
So once I get an update from the state on the timeline for that, I'll provide that.
By the way, Councilman President Salver, I think that was a lousy answer, telling one of our residents to follow up on it. Once information is disseminated to any of the council people, we greatly appreciate it. Use your clout, use your position for something other than nepotism, like it was stated for these gentlemen. And I can get at least 4 other people who've offered their services and have been overlooked, including myself, for 2 committees that I'm definitely good for. As I emailed all of you this morning, resolution 2025 to reappoint Alice Reel to the Flood Resiliency Committee. I asked that this council table it for a month to get somebody else that is capable, that will contribute to the committee. She has been useless and achieved nothing in her whole term there. And you guys can be smug about it, totally blow everything I say off. But at some point, just like with our current budget, it will come back to haunt us. Resolution 2025-27 to appoint Victoria Garrett to the Planning Commission. I know nothing about her, but I can tell you, you have 2 people here that I know for a fact have spoken to many of you and volunteered and have again been overlooked because of nepotism. That's all this city is built on. Your friends, people that you drink with at St. Anthony's or St. Gabe's. Next thing is the dog park. You were slick in the budget, splitting off the dog park from paving. That whole project should be put on hold immediately and nothing put towards getting a dog park. You're gonna do what you wanna do, and you keep going full ahead spending taxpayers' money for surveys and everything else. When you were walking around with the survey to find out about taxes, why don't you ask the 100 people that I spoke to, including visitors to the city, that don't feel at this point with our financial situation, any money should be spent for it. And also, the visitors and residents don't agree that that's the best point in a secluded area. Use the area that we've got where the playground's within visual, the water is within sight. Picnics, it's more of a family thing. Make it enjoyable, put it where the people want. And last but not least, I really think the event on Saturday was well done. So thank all that were involved.
Hi, everyone. Dave Turley from Delaware City. I've been on the city council in Delaware for under a year. I had a learning curve how all these processes work. And one of the things that happened was a chance to meet Councilperson Gravel. He has been coming to our meetings and brings information to us and has been collaborating and increasing.
I'm sorry, sir, could you speak into the microphone?
Yeah, is it on?
It is
Yeah.
on,
You
yes.
can pick it up if that's easier for you.
Okay. And Dave Curley, 201 Clinton Street in Delaware City. So I wanted to express my appreciation for Councilperson Donovan, his proactive stance in trying to reach out and include other communities in a process that we all face, which is how we as small towns take advantage of the resiliency and flexibility we have, but also overcome the challenges of how we pay for all the things that we would like to do. We share a similar history and a similar focus on education, diversity, and ecotourism. So I'm going to start trying to attend meetings here as well. It broadens my exposure to the kinds of issues and elements that are being dealt with, and hopefully it'll increase my level of knowledge. We do have some brochures in the back for the Juneteenth celebration on June 19th at 10 a.m. at the African Union Cemetery. You're aware of what this cemetery is. There were some kids playing out in the wetlands out the back areas where adjacent to the canal. They found a headstone in the mud. Eventually, it was determined that there were 5, and it's possible there were 6 members of the United States colored troops who were people who were fighting for freedom in this country, who were Black Americans alongside white Americans. So our town makes a pretty big thing about the whole Juneteenth celebration because it's really a fairly pivotal part of our history. So I would like to encourage everyone to attend. That's at 10 a.m. at the cemetery. Basically, the access to it is on the Castle Bike Trail. For folks who don't want to walk the 3 blocks to the cemetery, they'll have transportation on wheels for you. And we invite everyone to come out and enjoy a celebration of freedom. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're finishing signing in. Okay, yes.
Joan Simpson,
Into the mic here.
Joan Simpson, 5th Street. Good evening. Thank you first of all for your time and the work you do with the city. Very
Hold the mic just, there you go.
greatly
Thank
appreciated.
you.
Living on 6th Street, traffic is an issue. Traffic is an issue on this whole town. But the city has a code on the books. I looked this up, it's 225-4. Specifically addresses truck traffic in the city. Specifically addresses fines that can be levied. Specifically addresses signage that should be up, which I don't believe it is. Show and tell. This is an example of less than, it's about 1/3 of the brick dust I cleaned up from my basement and pieces of brick from the vibrations from all the trucks. These are trash trucks that come by that don't need to come by. I've sent emails to the Senator Ford, which you've all been CC'd on, naming some of the companies that need to be talked to. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done about traffic in the whole city, but there's an ordinance. There's a code on the book where this can be addressed with driving. So I don't know if it means that whenever I see a truck on 6th Street, that I need to call the police because these people can be ticketed. Some help needs to be offered here. So I don't know what else to do. If you have any suggestions, I'm very appreciate it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is kind of a timely comment because I believe it was Friday night, we were having a conversation with Chief McCabe. Sixth Street is a state road. And he was talking about, he'd love to enforce all that, the code you're talking about, but it's a state road. And you can't impede commerce. When you go look at state law, you can't impede commerce. It's a whole thing up there. But excuse me. But the suggestion was made, and I don't know how far-fetched this is really, was that the city seek ownership of Sixth Street. And I don't know the process, I don't know anything else about it. But it does belong to the state, and state law also says you can't impede commerce.
But then why can council or somebody create a code?
The code is for the rest of the city, for the city streets.
City streets, not state streets.
It's complicated with the overlapping jurisdictions. We've
So
discussed
then
this
should
with
I
Chief
be
McCabe.
talking to Senator Poor again, who sent me back to the city to say it's the city's code, so the city should enforce it?
So I would just add that, Ms. Simpson, I hope that there are some things that the city can do and are doing to help out with traffic, signage, et cetera. Ms. Dantillo mentioned it earlier in the meeting. I mentioned it, I guess, in November, December, in regards to a walkable community study. I think there's some things that can be done in regards to signage in those areas, and I think you mentioned that as well. Please stay tuned for June, around July time period, in which that is gonna occur. And I also, this is just me pondering out loud, if there's an ability for us to petition the state for cameras on Sixth Street, to where trucks could be monitored, just as an example.
Just real quickly before you start, ma'am, this is a first on Maxwell and the city solicitor. This is really the first I've heard of this jurisdiction on this, so I'll look into it. All right, now I never say nothing at these meetings, because I'm an employee of the city. When I'm sitting here every meeting, I'm tired of these people complaining that we don't sweep the street, move your cars. Bottom line, the flooding in Buttonwood, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but every drain in the city from Washington Park to Buttonwood drains to the river. Tide comes in and out twice a day, water don't go out when it's high tide. So you're gonna have flooding. As far as the road out there by the farmer's market, call DelDOT, they refuse to patch that hole because it slows people down. They all come here and complain about the same thing every damn week or month, and I'm tired of it. Do you wanna get on the resilient committee? Get on it. Just go to the meeting and voice your opinion. But I'm telling you, these drains drain to the river. If it's high tide, the water's not going out. Barry Cutoff hasn't flooded since I took that log out of the daggone dike. Water's moving through there. The pipes in Buttonwood, I'm working with the county now to get a machine to pull the tires. They gotta do their side and we gotta do the one under the railroad. It takes time. But when it's high tide, water's not going out, so remember that when it rains.
Any other comments? You've had your turn, Dr. Padmanlingham, I'm sorry.
You have not answered my question.
Sir, we cannot get into extended discussions of issues in the middle of the meeting, even though we've done that a little more than we should have on this one. Okay, thank you. If no one else has a comment, then we'll move on to the second reading of ordinance 554. This is the one to raise the income limit for the senior citizens property tax exemption. Before we get into it, I'll add, after this was published, we realized that we did not include a similar exemption for those with permanent disabilities who are under 65. And because that's a separate section of the code, it has to be a separate ordinance. So we will be preparing another ordinance to deal with the exemption for those who are permanently disabled. Mr. Mattaway, did you have anything you wanted to say about this since it was your ordinance?
Thank you, Council President. First, I would like to say that this is a data-driven choice or decision to bring us forward, but it's also driven from the heart in terms of just simply the right thing to do. The city does have an ordinance on hand in regards to senior property tax exemptions. It was last adjusted in 2007. For the people that are in the audience, what's in the council packet, presently right now, the exemptions amount for an individual are $15,000. Again, that was last adjusted in 2007. So in 2007, if you were a single person based upon the US government data, approximately $10,200 was considered the poverty level. Okay, if you extrapolate that forward to 2025, for one person, the poverty level is $15,650. And if you look at the CPI inflation calculator in regards to what $15,000 had a purchasing power in 2007, and you carry that forward to 2025, that is $23,209.05. What is not in the packet, and I'll just pass this down now to my colleagues, but I'll read it out loud, is the CPI inflation calculator for the person household. So again, we spoke about $15,000 for an individual, and what's right now on the books in regards to the city of Newcastle property tax exemption is $25,000 for a family of two, if you will, or two persons that are on the deed, if you will. So if you take the CPI calculator, you would get, I'm sorry, in regards to what is for $30,000, it was $30,000, I apologize, for a couple. If you take the $30,000 and carry that forward to 2025, through inflation, that's now $46,418.09. So the thought here is that you definitely need to make an adjustment. It is data driven. We are a small municipality. We want to do what we can for our people and protect them. Mr. Stan, I would love to do what the county does. They have $200 million in their budget. We don't. But if you get that legacy fund and you help us fund it, I promise we'll raise the senior tax exemption. I would also like to add that there's been some research in regards to what other municipalities are presently doing. For the folks that are in the audience, it's in my colleagues' council packets. So the city of Smyrna does $35,000 for an individual and $40,000 for two people. Delaware City, our sister city, does $20,000 for an individual person. So these are just some examples. I'll pause, see what my colleagues have to say and chime in at a later time. Oh, I would like to offer up this data point as well. So the city does have this program presently right now. There's about $44,000 worth of credits, if you will, that the city gives out. So you could also look at it as like a revenue loss for the city with these current thresholds of $15,000 and $30,000. So I'll just pause there.
Have a quick comment, if someone could support this motion. I would just like to make a revision to section 1B regarding, as we're well past the usual May deadline, with this being a different budget year. I would like to edit the dates to say September 1st, 2025 for fiscal year July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and prior to May 1st of each subsequent year.
So you're talking about rolling
She said
forward
make
for the
it-
next year?
Yes, but you can make a suggestion.
Excuse me. The council is speaking.
Is that what I'm saying, to roll it forward for next?
For this year, for this fiscal year, if you wanted to go into effect for this fiscal.
Oh,
year.
yes, I would like to amend that, and thank you for mentioning that. This dovetails into something that I neglected to mention. So right now with this senior tax credit program, it's May 1st is the deadline in which Ms. Delgado interviews or doesn't solicit, but takes appointments from residents who may potentially be eligible. This would not be an ordinance. I think this would be more of a policy and procedure, but I would like to request that the council and or city administrator entertain the idea of extending that time period. If this does pass, essentially it would allow people to come into the office to apply for it. Finally, I would like to say is that this concept was conjured up earlier in the year, in or about January. I knew we had a council election in April, and I held on to this because I didn't want this to be considered an election issue or something if somebody was for it or not for it. Thank you.
So if I understood Ms. Tantillo correctly, we need a motion from a council member, of course, to amend this section, a motion to amend the current ordinance in section 1B to make the deadline September 1st, 2025.
Correct.
For application for this tax relief, and May 1st of 2026 and subsequent years.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Okay. We can just make the motion to have it be effective immediately with a deadline of September 1st, 2025.
Okay, and then leave this worded the way it is because it says May 1st of each subsequent year.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the amendment is to make
this,
Amend section 4 of the ordinance,
to make it effective.
effective immediately.
Effective immediately, which is already in there, yes.
Right, and allowing application until September.
Okay, so we just simply add to section 4, the ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption and approval. And we will, and the deadline for applications in 2025 is extended to September 1st. Okay, so I move that we amend section 4 to say that this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption and approval. And the deadline for application for the tax relief is extended to September 1st, 2025. Do we need to specify and then May 1st, that's it? Okay, period. May 1st or to September 1st, 2025. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion of this amendment?
Not amendment, but discussion of.
Well, we gotta deal with the amendment and then we can discuss the full, ordinance. So are we ready to vote on this amendment? Okay, all in favor of amending section 4 to extend the deadline for applying for property tax relief this year to September 1st? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the amendment is approved. I have another amendment to suggest, and then we can discuss. In section, so that we don't get into this bind again with nobody looks at it and years go by and costs increase, I would propose adding to section 1A, after the amounts being specified, that this amount shall be adjusted each year based on the Social Security cost of living adjustment amount. And then that new rate would be applicable in the following fiscal year. So, because the Social Security COLAs come out in the fall. And so if it's if, whatever they determine the increase is, then that increase would be applied to these income limits for the following year's tax relief. And that way that will keep these amounts keep pace with inflation, rather than us having to do a new ordinance every few years to bring it up to date. It would happen automatically. So is there a second to that amendment proposal? I move that we add that.
Can I add to that amendment? Since it's the same section, just because the amounts identified are not currently, so the 40,000 right now is lower than 46,000, so I would move to amend that number to be 46,000.
One amendment at a time.
Okay, sorry.
One amendment at a time.
Okay.
We have a motion.
That's all right.
We don't have a section.
There is a second on my amendment to provide a cost of living adjustment.
What is that percentage today?
I don't remember. Does anybody remember what the Social Security cost was? I think it was like 2.3 or 2.2, 2.5. But it varies each year because it's dependent on the increase in the consumer price index. I think for the year from October to the following September, I think that's the period they base the Social Security COLAs on.
I think we should debate the overall ordinance before we start looking at other amendments. And the reason I say that is because I feel like we're overlooking the elephant in the room. So we've adjusted with this ordinance to increase the amount of people eligible. What we haven't identified is that prior assessed value, the first 32,000 of assessed valuation was exempted, but we haven't touched that at all. So that's the bigger piece of the puzzle. So,
Yeah.
We can have more people apply, but the exemption is actually going to be very, very small. And that's the number I think we need to look at. I'm not against the income limitations being raised, but I think we need to go from 32,000 to something a little bit more significant, especially since, our assessments have risen, many percentages.
So I'm gonna find the council, Joe, you can have that debate, but I got an amendment, I gotta deal with the amendment. All right, so there's either a second to the amendment offered by the council president, or there's not. Second.
Okay, all in favor of amending section 1A to add the sentence that these limits shall be increased each year based on the Social Security cost of living adjustment? So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Four, so we're clear for the record, is that 4 in favor and 1 yes?
I'm again, I can.
Yes. The amendment holds.
Joe, do you mind if I provide?
And
The
just
data
the reason for my no is I would much rather us focus on the 32,000 and make it a bigger percentage for the lowest income families in the city.
Okay, so I mean, that's basically another amendment, isn't it? Mr. Walton, to change that amount to 32,000.
That's correct, Madam Chair. So who wants to offer that amendment?
Ralph, do you have a number that you would like to suggest?
Well, I think that's a, discussion, like I'm looking at the number from 1983 and the average household value for residents was 41,700. So the 32,000 out of that is 77%, right? But the 32,000 out of new value, which is 268,000, is 12%. So, if we're going by keeping it 3/4, we're looking at 206,000. But the county is 173,000, so that's still better than what we're doing, which is 65% of that value. So I can see merit in both. I don't know what was the conversation back in 1983 when this was set at 32,000, but I'm not familiar, Joe. I don't know if you're familiar with the conversation the county had. What 173 was there. The county's percentage carried over, so it's whatever that the county was, because I'll be willing to discuss that, because I agree with your point. I love the idea of increasing eligibility, but I also want to make sure that we're making amendments to this as well that make sense. And this is one of those things. I wonder if we bring it I know this is not on the agenda tomorrow, but if we can bring it to a budget meeting because of the urgency of this, so we can see the number impact that the city administrator could prepare potentially for us to see what it plays out on the 47,000 of revenue currently. Credit to people, what it would be at 173, let's say, the county has, or any other different option that we could potentially talk. It's tough to talk about amendment without knowing what that means, but at the same time, this would be my priority as a council person. It seems like yours as well, and probably other people here.
That's your priority.
Yes.
You do have time before the end of the budget year, with all the meetings you have together, and you will have to consider a budget ordinance because the state law, usually do that by resolution, the state law requires an ordinance. To deal with that issue, you've already had a public hearing on this. You can have a discussion and you've met your charter requirements, your code requirements. You could table this to a future meeting to allow that. That would be preferred at this time.
Can this be added to tomorrow's meeting from?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's future meeting, 7 days.
Understand.
Council for today, I appreciate what you said in regards to the thresholds. This was drafted months ago when we didn't even have the, county assessment numbers. And honestly, this is something worth doing, but at the same time is costing the city money, so to speak, right? And we all know the situation of the budget, and we're all looking for money. So the thought was to increase it and to do better, but also recognizing the financial situation that the city is in. But I certainly would be in favor of increasing that above 32,000, 50,000, or whatever, the body deems appropriate. Thank you for raising it.
So if we left the income levels as they're specified, 25 and 40, but raised the amount of the assessed value of the home that would be excluded from taxation, that might be a compromise between.
And I think this is one of the ones where we have to take a lot of bites out of the apple, and that's why I didn't want an automatic increase in the income. I would rather see us add $10,000 of exemption. We'll start with a base, and maybe next year we add another 10,000 of exemption, and then another 10,000 of exemption to get up so that it is kind of commensurate to where we're at, where we were at in the past.
Because we don't know how much money is gonna be a revenue loss. Right, that's not no number.
Yeah.
But I did feel like $15,000 and those amounts were just low.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So where are we? Do we want to table this and put it on an agenda for a budget meeting that we have time to announce it for? And that will also give us time to perhaps do some analysis, looking at the assessed values as to how many more. The thing is, we know how many more properties. We know what the assessed values are, but we don't know how many people meet the higher income limits. Yeah, we know how many people have qualified with the lower limits, but we don't know, obviously, how many more people might. Excuse me, if you want to have a conversation, could you please step in the lobby so that we could go on with the meeting? That's the problem. We can't project how many more people are gonna qualify. And no amount of study and analysis is gonna come up with that number because we don't know the income of all of our residents.
So the way it stands right now is you could have a motion to table to a future meeting to be decided before June 30th. That's motion one. Motion two would be a motion to change the numbers here. Or number three, we've got an ordinance and amendment, but it could move to approve. So that's your three options at this point. Table, amend, or vote on.
So if we vote on this and approve this tonight, that does not preclude us from coming back with another ordinance to change the, 32,000 of assessed value.
That's correct. That would take 2 months, obviously, to do.
And that's what I was asking.
Well-
Technically, we wouldn't get it done in time and we'd have to have another ordinance, we'd have to have another hearing.
Yes, you'd have to have enough, you know, you got a lot of meetings this month, so it might be short of normal, but.
So the only solution is, that I see is the table.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards tabling, but I have a question for city administrator, if you could look into the property reassessment file that you received from the county. Do you mind checking and seeing if the file itself that we have been using to make projections currently in our budget meetings is already deducting $173,000 for certain properties? Because I think that would help in making this decision. If the answer is yes, then what we're seeing in our budget meeting so far is already accounting for this adjustment that the county has provided. So I think it will be great to know that. I think Mr. Stott mentioned that there's several hundred parcels that have that deduction. So I want to say that what we have been doing so far is already including the deduction of the county. Yes, 173,000, sorry, but if you could confirm that and I'm leaning towards tabling, I know we have to vote, but if we could have that in front of us by then, that would be very helpful for us as a council to know that we have already accounted for this revenue loss by whatever the tax rate we're proposing to be. That's just my ask before that meeting. I think so.
I just have one question for the body respectfully. We've heard at countless meetings, and it's the question that we can never always solve, that some people are unaware, right? People don't know, right? But we can certainly do more. The question for the table that I have right now is, can we, or would the council consider passing a update to September 2025? That would allow us to put it in the weekly, put it in the crier, put it on the city website, et cetera, to let people know that the senior tax exemption window has been extended till September.
Can I ask a question? More to Antonina, I guess. How would that work? The bills, let's say mid-July, would you hold on some of those bills eventually, or
So
just
we
curious?
send all the bills out as we normally do, and those who want to continue applying through September can continue applying, and we would make the adjustment.
So their bill would
on
just
a case
amend
by case
after, okay.
basis. If their mortgage company paid, they would just have a credit on their account that would roll to the next year.
Thank you.
Why would it roll to next year? Do you not get a refund there?
I mean, I don't even know how many people are gonna apply. Hundreds of
I presume it would just stay in the escrow account, is that?
The money sits in the escrow account until the mortgage company pays the tax. Person doesn't have it, we don't have it.
And it would show up on their next year's bill that they have a credit in on their current bill, and it would be reduced, and it would be fully aware that they have this credit and they pay less.
Your escrow is gonna go up, they're gonna be paying more now, they're gonna want that money if it's sitting here as a credit.
But it's not sitting here if it's in escrow.
back to the
It goes,
mortgage.
but the mortgage company holds the escrow account.
But if they're paying up front to pay, that means now they're gonna have a credit on our side, this, we're gonna have the money. Not
Correct.
the escrow.
No, we're gonna have the money for this year. It'll show up on their bill for next year as a credit. And it'll be applied and the mortgage company will send less money. I don't know how many more people are going to apply. I cannot say that we can manage issuing hundreds of thousands of dollars of, reimbursements to people.
Understood, but we should be holding their money.
Well-
My understanding is that we're not, because I think I'm not an expert, Councilperson Zeldin, but I think what happened is, let's say you escrow a certain amount of money, it would move to us, but we would send change back after this person has applied for this program, so it would just, roll back into that amount later, so it's not like you, unless it's not a mortgage case, it's not like you would be, having less money, your escrow would temporarily have less money in it, but then it will be refunded back to that account.
It's understood, but their escrow is gonna go up, they're gonna start paying more, we're gonna have a credit on our side. Because we decided to reduce it for them, which is great, but we're gonna have that money. And now their escrow is gonna go up and they're gonna want that money to start paying extra on their escrow.
But the escrow doesn't send us the money monthly, they send it
You're
yearly.
right, but they're sending the full amount because we haven't deducted it yet, because we don't know of the credit situation. So the credit's gonna end up on our side.
Right, for this year.
For this
And
year,
then this is just because this is so late in the game. If we, again, have this back for the May deadline, we're gonna be in this predicament. So for this 1 year, we're gonna have an issue. There's no issue with something, that's fine. I said it's gonna reflect on their bill this year, that they have this credit, their bill's gonna be reduced.
so I'm just gonna point out, I'm in disagreement that we should be
That's fine.
holding on to that money.
Okay.
Because their escrow is gonna go up, their payment monthly is gonna go up, they're gonna want access to that money.
And at this point, we don't know how many people that is. I mean, how many people who qualify for this tax exemption still have a mortgage? And we don't know.
We don't know. Their, salary can change from year to year with their income, so we don't know. There's too many variables.
So where are we with this? Are we going to table it and then put it?
Free choice.
Yep.
Can we, I was wondering if we could move to extend the, deadline to September twenty
I
twenty-five.
already did that.
We already did that.
Okay.
We amended this ordinance to include that extension.
Okay, can't vote on it because that's voted on in it.
If we have to vote on the ordinance as a whole as amended.
Max, the other part of this equation is extending the 40,000 of income eligibility to whatever CPI that can be done at a further tabled meeting that we're talking about, correct? Like, we don't have to make amendment now. and
Here's the
then-
way this is gonna play. If you table it, we're gonna go back, we're gonna type in the ordinance, the CPI thing. We're gonna amend section 4 to say it's September 1st. Because you guys have already voted on that and functionally changed the ordinance. Then you will start from there in your debate and discussion.
I personally don't see why we couldn't amend the section A of section 1A, the 40,000 to 46 or 47, whatever the more appropriate number is. So so the only thing we have to discuss later is whatever the CPI number is, but then the later time we have just discussed is the 32,000 will be to, I don't know what.
But I think what Mr. Day was saying is it's probably, we might not be able to afford to do
I
both.
understand, absolutely.
And therefore, we might want to raise the amount of the value of the property that's excluded from taxation and keep the income level lower as sort of a compromise to not make quite as much a hit on the budget. If we raise everything, that's the biggest possible hit on the budget. If we raise the income levels and we raise the amount exempted from taxation, then, we're cutting into our revenue even more. Whereas, as Mr. Day suggested, if we start to raise the amount of the assessed value to be excluded from taxation, even if we keep the income levels a little lower, that might actually have a bigger impact on people.
I understand, the question I was having is if we make a change now, we can still change that income level later down or, whatever the appropriate amount, so it doesn't really matter, we can debate at it at a later time, it seems.
Okay,
Both of it.
let's see, we've announced, We have a meeting a week from tomorrow, right? And that gets announced tomorrow.
It's already been posted that it's more than 7 days, I believe I can amend that.
Yes, you may amend the agenda, but it's more than 7 days.
So we could post an amended agenda to, post it tomorrow for next Wednesday's meeting and then move forward from there with perhaps more information, although I don't know how much more information is gonna be available because we don't know how many more people would qualify at these higher levels.
Yeah, I think it would be great to know if we were already operating at kind of 783s for the sake of the argument. That's the biggest kind of question I have. But yeah, I agree. We don't know. You know, right now it's 45,000. Is that 5 times more because we're, you know, having 5 times more property value that we're adding to the eligibility potentially? I don't know, right? And that's just the amount of people that are applying for it now. So is that, you know, I really don't know. So that's probably the biggest unknown here is what revenue wise this could mean for platform revenue.
We know the population today that has them. We're gonna look at those items and see the impact of these ones we have today. So can we evaluate those out?
I mean, we know.
Already, Councilman Mataway just shared that number. It's 40,000.
How about the current population of our community, which ones we can see that it's affecting?
Are you talking about using census numbers and income numbers to?
Well, yeah, so these numbers, we can see what it's changing on how much they're gonna be paying or not paying.
Are you saying change the assessed value number, not change the income?
Yeah.
Because that we can,
We can't figure that part out.
we could, in other words, if we raise the 32,000 of assessed value to 100,000, I'll just pick a number. Then we could calculate, okay, for the people who already qualify under the older limits, that we could calculate how much more loss of tax revenue that would be, correct? If we raise the amount of assessed value that's excluded.
I think we
It's a
could.
possibility. I
think we
mean,
could-
it's an estimate. We're not gonna know
Take an
actual
estimate right
numbers.
now.
But an
We have a
estimate's
maximum
better
impact
than.
and a minimum impact. We're not gonna know the true value until people actually apply.
Right, I'm not, we can't know how many more people are gonna meet the new income levels. But we can know of the people who already meet the current lower income levels. If we exempted a greater portion of the tax assessed value of their properties, how much more revenue that would be.
Just for those individuals.
Just for those people who met it for last year. Or this current, we're still in fiscal 25, so.
Yeah, but that, just keep in mind, that's gonna be a really rough number because, you know, you're not sure who else is going to qualify because of the income level.
Right,
I think
right.
it doesn't matter. I think first and
Right.
almost minimum, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then I move that
One
we,
more question, sorry, the disability, we talked about, there was another ordinance, or was it part of this ordinance that was stricken? I don't know if you can just update me, there was is that being discussed as well? Is it wrapped into
That'll
here?
be, the first reading will be, next.
Okay, thank you.
to include the disabled, yes.
Thank you.
Because that was inadvertently omitted from this one. Okay, I move that we table this ordinance until the meeting of, what is it, June 18th. Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, the next. Thank you, Mr. Walton, for keeping us straight.
Try not to stand up here unless I think.
Like you do have a great tie, so you know, every time I got a short tie, but
All right, the next item from old business is business item number 2. Discussion, possible motion and vote on resolution 2025-25. A resolution requesting an amendment to the City of Newcastle Municipal Charter addressing different tax rates for types of property within the city. And Mr. Jay is going to list that.
I need to read the whole resolution.
You do.
So, this resolution is just adding a few words in. We had previously passed an ordinance, that would allow the council to charge different tax rates for different property within the city. Councilman Mataway and I had a meeting with, a few large landlords and tenants and within the city. and they had some concerns with the ordinance, and they asked for, a few words to be added back into it. So I'm proposing this resolution, and it adds the words "in just proportions" back into the language. And that's simply all it's doing. I believe we had our attorney look at this. I don't believe it substantially changes the ordinance, but it is something that I thought was worthy of, was having a change.
Councilman Day, can I put it just a little sharper on this? There was a bill that went into the General Assembly to change it. Didn't feel comfortable just going to the General Assembly with that change in the council to act. Personally, I don't think it changes anything about the resolution whatsoever, but it's a political compromise of some sort. And so therefore, I think the meaning remains exactly the same.
Am I allowed to type that on? So the just portions is just gives us same flexibility we had before, it was just the amending language to make it sound that it's not the same portions, or is that correct?
The end of the day, that's correct.
So the intent of it, it's not changing, it's just the language to make sure that. Thank you for meeting with the stakeholders.
There's no other question, I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The amendment is adopted.
I'll refer this down to the state, for the public back to you.
Resolution 2025-30. Is to reappoint Alice Reel to the Flood Resiliency Committee. It's a brief resolution, I will read it. Whereas this Newcastle City Council established the Sea Level Rise Task Force by Resolution 2022-04, and whereas Resolution 2023-32 converted that task force to a permanent committee known as the Flood Resiliency Committee. And whereas Ms. Reel currently serves on this committee in a term which expires June 30th, 2025, she has agreed to be reappointed. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby reappoints the following person to the Flood Resiliency Committee: Alice Reel, Flood Resiliency Committee, term ending June 30th, 2027. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Is there,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And the next resolution is 2025-26. And this is essentially the same wording. It's a different person. It's Fred Gallagher is currently the trustees and representative on the Flood Resiliency Committee since the establishing ordinance provided that the trust should have a representative. His term also expires June 30th. I believe I don't have to read this.
You're correct, Madam Chair.
So the only difference in the wording of this one from the wording of the one I just read is that it specifies that Mr. Gallagher is the representative of the trustees of the Newcastle Common. His current term ends June 30th this year. His new term would end June 30th of 2027.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And resolution 2025-27, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Victoria Garrett to the Planning Commission. Whereas the city of Newcastle provides that the mayor of the city of Newcastle appoint 9 members to the Planning Commission subject to the confirmation by city council, each for 3-year terms. And whereas there is currently 1 vacated position on the Planning Commission. And whereas the City Council proposes to confirm the appointment of Victoria Garrett to a term on the Planning Commission, with this term ending on June 10th, 2028. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby appoints the following person to the Planning Commission: Victoria Garrett, Planning Commission, term ending June 10th, 2028. Is Ms. Garrett here tonight?
No.
No. All right, well, if you did, Mr. Gross, public comments are closed. She has provided information about her background to the city council. She grew up in Newcastle. And she has some background, she's given us her professional background as well. I will say that Ms. Garrett lives in a neighborhood that is not currently represented on the planning commission. And I think particularly with the planning commission, it's important to have broad representation from throughout the city. So,
Explain.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. All right.
This is run by.
You've been asked to stop speaking multiple times. Thank you.
It's correct.
Okay.
You'll hear from the board.
Resolution 2025-28. A resolution to establish a City of Newcastle Finance Committee. Whereas the City Council desires to establish a City Finance Committee to review and recommend financial policies to the entire City Council. And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby establishes a Finance Committee for the City of Newcastle to provide recommendations to the full City Council regarding financial matters. Be it further resolved that the structure and goals of this committee shall be as follows. The members of the Finance Committee shall be comprised of the following: A, the City Administrator; B, the City Financial Officer; C, the City Treasurer; D, 2 members of council to include the City Council President and 1 other member of the council to be appointed by the City Council to the committee; and E, 1 resident of the city to be appointed by City Council to the committee. The committee shall meet a minimum of 1 time per quarter. Additional meetings can be scheduled as necessary by the committee. I have 2 comments. Number 1, I think item B, our city financial officer's title is finance coordinator, not financial officer. And I believe this should be corrected. Does that need a formal amendment, or is that just a clerical correction, Mr. Walton?
Clerical correction.
Okay, so a clerical correction to section B, instead of financial officer, it will read the city finance coordinator. And the second comment I have, and this may need to be a formal amendment, this does not specify a term for the resident appointed to the committee. And I think it should be a 3-year term, the same as all other committees. So I would propose an amendment to section 1E to make it read 1 resident of the city to be appointed by the City Council to the committee for a 3-year term, adding those words. Is there a second to that amendment?
So are you making a motion to make that?
I am making a motion to amend section 1E. Yes. I assume I need to do that since that's more than just a clerical correction. Okay. So is there a second to my motion for that amendment?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment only to add the words for a 3-year term to section E, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So now that we've taken care of those things, general discussion on this resolution.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I assume this is, to ease the budget process and it kind of formulate something like Delaware has with feedback. But I would say, other than the member, the resident, I mean, I don't, we could do this without resolution, right, with the city administrator, the finance coordinator, the treasurer, and 2 members of council. But just bringing that up, and I will also say that I believe it's, the current makeup is 6 on the committee. And you may want to add another resident, to give us that odd number, but it's just a, it seems to me that we may have, some good financial resources in the city, and some city residents that have, good knowledge of budgets and taxes and stuff, that may be able to, participate on it, but just suggestions.
If I could just give a little bit of background, when I was administrator in another municipality, we had a finance committee. And it was very helpful to talk through some policies and talk through our investment strategies with our investment advisor. And then, we would review the quarterly statements, more in depth than a regular council meeting. And it just provided an additional layer of, review for, policy things that we, want to look at. For example, we are looking at creating different funds. This will, provide, a focused set of eyes on something like that. So, just that insight as, I have experience with that.
I just realized, I think I skipped a line when I read this. Another member of the committee is the city treasurer. So that does make 5. There's the administrator, six with the 2 members of council, right? But they don't vote, they merely give advice, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that's an issue or not. Mr. Walton, it looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I was actually coming up for council with today's statement, since you could do this generally, what this resolution does is it makes it a full process.
I like the resolution, it goes, alongside what, city administrator was working on creating a, financial policy for the city, so I think it would just help kind of review those things periodically, what Councilperson Mataway brought up with, the legacy fund and, with the budget stabilization and capital infrastructure, so I think it can help in a lot of those different things that, are dynamic and not necessarily all those details need to be part of the city. I'm obviously worried about, like the comment that the public has made and about reappointments. What needs to be said is that we're lucky to have people willing to be appointed or reappointed to any of these committees because it's a significant, time commitment, even though it's only 4 meetings or 12 meetings a year, there's still a time that people have to dedicate to it. So I do agree that, and encourage everybody to attend all of the meetings that you're interested in and, having your voices heard, or at least emailing city administrator that can forward that to the chairs. But I also had the same idea of not only adding 2 for the voting, and it seems like we wouldn't even have residents vote, but just I do through the budget process, I've seen that there's a lot of residents interested in the budget process and have a lot of ideas. So I think it would be nice to have even more opinions of people who are not looking at this stuff all the time, so we can have a little more of a diversity as it comes to the ideas going forward. So I would absolutely support the notion from Councilperson Day to amend E to 2 residents of the city. Once again, it's hard to staff these things in general, so that's my biggest concern, but more ideas is absolutely something we need as a city, so I welcome this wholeheartedly.
I also neglected to say, I think that the genesis of this committee, or the idea for this committee, was twofold. The establishment of the legacy fund means that we're going to be getting quarterly reports on our investments, and this committee would review those reports. And the other thing is, if we establish the budget stabilization fund and the capital improvement fund, this committee could also advise on the management, I'll put it broadly, of those funds, and as well as the overall budget process.
To be clear, is this a committee or a commission?
What difference does it make? Well, I mean, if we call it a committee or we call it a commission, it's gonna do the same thing.
Is there voting with one and not with the other? Because you don't want them to, they don't have a voting, they're just advisory.
Right.
Is that is advisory more of a committee or commission, or it really doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
It would seem to me that what matters is what we write in this ordinance, right? Because a resolution, because it says to provide recommendations. So it's not a vote.
My only point with the odd members was I would assume the committee would vote on the recommendations that they're gonna push forward to the council. That was my only.
Sure. That's
So if someone were to desire to make a motion, if you wanted to add 1 person, then 1 resident be 2, that's better than you would vote on that.
I appreciate the fact of adding, other members of the community because of the wealth of knowledge that we have in our community. Recognizing that all other members of the committee are essentially city employees or appointees, so that 1 person essentially could feel like they're isolated, quite honestly.
They would be appointed as well to this committee.
No, I'm looking at the current composition, so city administrator.
Yeah, the other resident would be appointed by the council to the committee.
For a 2-year term, the same.
3 years.
Right,
3 year,
right,
excuse me, yes.
Right, no, I understand that. I value, I wouldn't be in support of up to 3 residents. But will the council?
Then we get back to an even number.
Just to add on to that.
But they're not, they're just recommending, so
But-
they're,
but
so they're
that's-
not, decision-making body.
No, but as Mr. Walton pointed out, they may vote among themselves to, should we recommend A or B? And if the committee has to vote whether, if there's disagreement among them, whether they should recommend we do A versus B, then the odd number would be helpful.
Okay, so let's go to 9.
So I agree with Council Mataway that probably should have 3. We might want to look at B for the city financial coordinator, make them as a non-voting member. And then have 3 residents, the first resident for 1 year, next resident for 2, next resident for 3, and then 3-year increments.
Right, to stagger them.
To stagger them.
Right, that's what we usually do, new committees.
Might need to make a motion.
A motion to strike, section E of resolution 2525-28 from 1 resident of the city to 3.
Second, do you accept Councilman's vote to make the coordinator a non-voting member?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, and to accept, Councilperson Zel's, reference to make the, B as financial coordinator, non-voting member.
So a voice but not a vote. Oh, and the staggered terms, as he.
So you haven't finished your motion, admin second, so you keep going. You support the staggered terms.
And staggered, was it 3-year?
Well, the first, one person would be appointed for 1 year, one person for 2 years, and one person for 3. So then, and then they could just be appointed for 3 years after that, but they wouldn't all be replaced at the same time. So that you maintain institutional knowledge.
Yeah, staggered term, limits for the initial terms, 1, 2, and 3. Just for a minute.
So we have a motion and a second to change the financial coordinator to a non-voting voice but not vote member. And a resolution to change E to 3 residents of the city. 1 to be appointed for 1 year, 1 to be appointed for 2 years, and 1 to be appointed for 3 years, and thereafter appointments shall be for 3 years. Did I capture all of that? Okay. So all in favor of this amendment? Aye. The amendment passes.
I do like,
Right, that's just the amendment, not the whole thing.
I do like the notion that, Mayor Leary brought up about advisory, and I wonder if we wanna add finance advisory committee in the name, similar to DFAX, A standing for advisory. I understand it's advisory body, but, just another amendment I propose. And if that's something you guys are open to, I would then motion to make it economic and financial advisory committee, just because of the acronym, the FAC would come to say that you serve on.
So would you like to make a motion in that regard?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to rename to establish a City of Newcastle Economic and Financial Advisory Committee.
Okay, all in favor of amending the title of, or the name of the committee, please say aye. Okay, that amendment also passed. Okay, are we ready to vote on the entire resolution as amended? Okay, all in favor of resolution 2025 as amended by its title, by the role of finance coordinator, and by the number of residents to be appointed, please say aye.
Aye.
Get one practice.
Well, good coach.
All right. The next item is a resolution to approve a vendor permit application for Thanks a Latte LLC. This is a I'll just read it and then we can. Whereas the City of Newcastle Code requires licensing of vendors within the City of Newcastle. And whereas Thanks a Latte LLC has petitioned to be considered for a vendor's permit and has supplied all of the required documentation, including required insurance, state health department certificate, and City of Newcastle business license. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Newcastle has granted Thanks a Latte a vendor's permit to sell food and drink items in calendar year 2021. The council has material with their permit application, copies of their letter of request, their Newcastle business license, their insurance certificate, and their Delaware Health and Division of Public Health certificate, as well as a brochure about what they do. It's basically it's a truck, but it's not a box truck size. It looks like a pickup truck with a camper on the back of it. It's about that size.
I think they were here.
Yeah, they were here.
For separate.
Yeah.
It's not a very big company.
And according to their letter, they are affiliated with. I think it's in their letter.
Yeah, it was, I forget where it said that.
Their sister
Nice.
franchise Tacona Ice, which already has a license here. So they sell a different product than any of the other vendors. I mean, we have a vendor who sells hot dogs and sodas and chips. We have Kona Ice, which sells obviously ice cream. And now they're requesting a license to sell coffee and other beverages. I think they sell cold beverages too, or not.
Yes.
Hot and cold beverages, but no food apparently. So is there
I
further?
guess I'll approve the vendor permit. Can I ask a question first? Nothing to do with this part of it, per se, but why do these come to council? Why can't they be straight?
Because our code says they have a vendor's license. We have to change the code.
Okay, we should look at it.
I have just one question to, city administrator. Do you know how many, mobile truck vendors they've approved currently?
We just approved another one last year, but I don't think they ever came out.
They never showed up, yeah.
I think there's four.
Yeah, my main, I was a little too much. Yeah, okay, that's, yeah. Perfect, thank you.
One question I have for city administrator, I leave another answer, but just want to ask for the record. Dusk till dawn, are those the essential hours for vendors? And I'm saying that because that's commensurate with, the hours of Battery Park. And I imagine they would be stationed essentially at the wharf.
Do we need to specify that?
We don't specify for the other ones.
I mean, if the park closes at dusk, then, although that, I guess the part at the end is technically public street, not the park, right?
Again, I was just asking, just want to practice, like, again, it's, we're giving them the license, but, is this a license to operate, in certain timeframes, or is this open-ended?
Well, to be honest, as a vendor, would you station yourself at a place where the park was closed so there would be no customers? But, I mean, that would be, and do you know, it did occur to me, do they have a thing that plays music or makes noise like an ice cream vendor does?
I don't think they did.
No?
There's a part of the application that says that that's prohibited.
Ah,
I read it
okay.
somewhere earlier, I don't
No
remember
vending
where.
from vehicle, no vending.
Yeah, traffic restrictions
Yep.
on our cities.
Okay.
Because I remember when we had an ice cream vendor, we specified that if they were parked for more than, I forget how many minutes, we specified they had to turn off the music. So that the people who lived right next to it wouldn't go crazy.
Yeah, it's prohibited. Use.
I don't know, what our code says, for vendors, like if that's just something that, is already implied within our code. But I'm excited to, taste their coffee. I love coffee and anything, so. More, I like the bakery that has coffee. I love Mercury that has coffee and make my own coffee, so. More coffee the better.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, the resolution is approved. Next, Item 6 is being deferred to a future meeting because neither the city planner nor the chair of the planning commission could be with us tonight, and we need their input to hear about the comp plan review. So we will skip item 6. And the final item is a first reading of ordinance 556, an ordinance to amend the City of Newcastle Municipal Code, Chapter 230 zoning regarding home occupations in the historic residence zoning district. As a first reading, I will simply read it. There will be no discussion or comments, and we will have a public hearing and discussion at a future meeting. Whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle, City Council, possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the City of Newcastle Municipal Code, City Code, and whereas home occupations such as an art studio, dressmaking, and professional offices of a lawyer, engineer, architect, or certified public accountant are permitted accessory uses in the R2 and R3 residential zoning districts. And whereas home occupations, by definition, retain the residential character and appearance of the structure and do not generate greater traffic volumes than would typically be expected in a residential district. And whereas the city council finds that, as is the case in the R2 and R3 zoning districts, home occupation should also be permitted accessory uses in the HR, historic residence zoning district, subject to the standards enumerated in City Code Section 230-1 definitions. And whereas the city council has determined that it is in the best interest of the city and its residents to amend the city code to expressly allow a home occupation as permitted accessory use, to allow a home occupation as a permitted accessory use in the HR, historic residence zoning district. Now therefore, making the express finding that the provisions of this ordinance enhance and promote the health, safety, and welfare of the city of Newcastle, be it ordained by the council of the city of Newcastle as follows. Section 1, City Code Chapter 230, Zoning Code, Section 230-19A7, Historic Residence, District HR, is hereby amended as follows, with deleted text identified by bold strike through and new language identified in bold underlined text. Accessory use and structures. The renting of one room to non-transient roomers or boarders. Other accessory uses and structures clearly incidental and customary to and associated with the permitted use. The section to be added is C, customary home occupations as defined in section 230-1 of this chapter. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, in the event any existing ordinance or parts of ordinances are in conflict herewith, the provisions of this ordinance shall control. Section 4, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption by City Council. And I think that concludes our business for this evening. So is there a motion to adjourn? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
I know.
Well, I'll try it again next week. Chief.
Bye, Brown.